Gabby noted, just definitely want to acknowledge that we could have done much better communication around the removal of the playground. The old playground at Wynwood Plaza was approximately 20 years old, a little bit older than that. It did have to be removed for safety concerns, so we did move a little bit aggressively to get that done. But again, we're here today to show you the new images for the proposed playground over here and get some of your feedback. So let me know if everyone can see my screen. Okay, I see a thumbs up. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna start admitting people. This is very exciting. I haven't been in the Zoom in a while, so I'm gonna just go ahead and do there. So I will walk through the presentation. I think if it's easier, I can go through the slides and then we can circle back if you guys have any questions. But I'll go ahead and start moving through. So just again for context, this is a playground that have been talking to one of our playground vendors, Compan. They're a very big playground vendor. We're very happy with them. They've done a number of projects across the city for the proposed new playground out here at Venice. So I think everyone in this call is familiar with this. So again, just a little overview map showing the location of the playground. It'll be essentially in the exact same location as the previous playground was at Venice. So just again highlighting the location of the proposed playground with a little bit of context here. This is just a little background. Just I think it's helpful to share. In our conversations with Compan about this playground and the inspiration for the design, it really was looking back at sort of the history of Venice and the Venice boardwalk. So you'll see through some of the renderings, some of the take on why the proposed design looks like it does. But again, we're here tonight to get your feedback on that. So again, really trying to look back towards the history of Venice and Venice Beach for some inspiration about a really Venice-specific type playground. This is an overhead view, just kind of giving you an idea to show you that the playground will be located in the same location as the existing one. Again, it'll be in the same exact play pit configuration, so it won't be getting any larger than where it is. All the equipment you'll see proposed tonight does fit into the same area where the previous play structures were. So again, this is just an overhead image to orient you once again with the overall footprint of the existing play pit and some of the amenities. Now I'm going to go through a few elevations before I kind of show you the images themselves. So again, one of the design concepts that we worked through with Compan on this playground was both to acknowledge the sort of the vibe and the feel out at Venice, but also to be cognizant of the beach and its views. So here we're showing you some height perspectives. This again is just to kind of give you a demonstration of how large these structures are that we'll be walking through. I wanted to share just for context, if you're not familiar, you see a metric over here to the left for 10, 20, and 30 feet high. The administration building that's right next to the existing playground, if you're familiar with it, none of these structures are taller than that building. So the whole playground is designed and sort of the elevation to be at or below the height of that building that's next to it. So just want to give you that context if you're wanting to get a feel for maybe what it would look like. Just think about the administration building. When we were working with this, the idea was to keep kind of underneath that as you're viewing towards the beach. So again, this is just a kind of a side image of the different elements here, and I'll go through the major playground elements. So again, just looking at two distinct playground areas. Most of our playgrounds, I'm sure, as many in this call may know, they will feature play features for children that are both ages 2 to 5, as well as features for children that are ages 5 to 12. So this is a little breakdown that just shows some of those specific elements, but I'll go through in the presentation a few more of those. Moving through, just another perspective, again, just kind of trying to orient you with the various different improvements here. And again, the difference between down here in the corner, the 2 to 5 area, and then the area that's larger, the 5 to 12. So for a moment here, I'll pause just to make sure everyone's completely oriented. As you are familiar with the existing playground, there is the row of palm trees that are there in the planters. So just as an orientation, those planters are still out there as well as the palm trees. You can see them. They remained in the design. So just again, for context, if you're trying to orient yourself, the row of the palm trees is in each of the images, so you can kind of see where they are in a perspective sense. So again, this is to try to give you a visual of what it would look like. This is going back to those thematic pictures at the beginning, looking really at some of the ideas of Venice Beach and some of the activities that went on out there. So the ideas for the playground to be very active, very colorful, very iconic for the area, but again, to provide a lot of different types of climbing activities, opportunities for children to get engaged in their play and the play space. So really, this is designed to be a very interactive and very actively used playground. We'll start off by talking a little bit about the 2 to 5 group. So this is just, again, you'll see here, one of the smaller structures that's set up for a little climbing over here in the 2 to 5 section. We'll also have a more traditional play climbing structure, as well as some swings as well. There's a lot of elements you'll see in here that kind of speak to bouncing and climbing and jumping. So a lot of different things to activate children a little bit differently than maybe a more traditional playground. One thing I'll note, and just you'll see in all the images as we go forward, both of these two playgrounds here, they're going to be designed to be on resilient surfacing. So they're going to have resilient safety surfacing underneath both the 2 to 5 playground and the 5 to 12. This is for a couple of reasons. One, obviously we're at Venice Beach, so there's plenty of opportunities for sand nearby. But for the department, it's a lot easier to maintain the playgrounds without sand. The safety surfacings are easier to operate and maintain, and also for ADA purposes. So the safety surfacing is very important for context of making sure there is a smooth surface for children of all abilities. So you'll see under both playgrounds, make sure it's clear that there'll be safety surfacing underneath the 5 to 12 playground, as well as the 2 to 5. Focusing on just a few of the elements here back to the larger playground. So this is what's called the circus tent, or the carousel. So it's kind of, again, going back to the idea of the traditional sort of old beach carousel ideas. A lot of climbers you can see here, decking, poles. So the idea is for kids to be able to climb up through all these different bird baths and necks to get to the top. There's sort of net structure in there, and then use the slides to come down. So again, encouraging kids different ways to get up and climb into the structure, to play inside the structure, to use the bouncing nets, and has a slide that comes down. So this is a closer look at that very same carousel. Again, the idea here being it'll be shaded, so we all know with the sun out there, the kids will be inside, be able to play. You'll see, again, a lot back to these hammocks and seating areas will be underneath it. Again, a lot of swing-like elements that are underneath the structure, but again, designed sort of to encourage your kids to sort of get inside and have multi-level activities. This is the smaller tent, so both the 5 to 12 and the 2 to 5 will have their own carousel tent. So the smaller one has a very similar one to the larger one I just showed you. So this is the image of what it looks like on the 2 to 5. So again, very same concept, ability for kids to climb, bounce in the nets, walk around on the little platform that's there. You can see the bouncing net called out, and then to come down the slides or down the climber to get to the bottom. So again, encouraging activities, encouraging them to play and climb inside the structure and have activities in there again. So again, just more showing the other side of the carousel, the ways for the children to get up. And the nets you can see here called out, like the net access ramp. So again, designed to be bouncy, designed to be interactive, designed to give kids a different ability to climb and play versus just walking up steps, moving across platforms. So we're really excited with what the design looks like. Just to go into a little bit of the elements, I'll go through a few slides that show some of those dedicated play features. So again, looking at different ways of panels to put in there for activities at the ground level, different hammock seats down here in the bottom you'll see for balancing or sitting or bouncing or whatever kids may want to do over there. And also a lot of different ways for kids to climb up. So not just your traditional, again, ladders and steps, a lot of different ways to encourage activity and really make it a destination playground. We're looking at a variety of different concepts for different little pods that the kids may be able to use that would be hung underneath here. So again, the idea is to both use the circus tent as a climbing structure and a play structure, but also that the area underneath the tent is being activated and has activities for children to use. And this is really this here is the sort of the centerpiece. You'll see in the slide, it's called the motorcycle globe of death. So just, you can see in the concept image here, I think people may be familiar with the old kind of circus where the bikes go around and around in the globe. So this was kind of a homage to that. But again, this is just a very large, almost 30-foot tall climbing structure. So the idea here is multiple levels of play for kids to be able to interact. You'll see here in the concept we have slides where they'll be able to get out, but there's really different levels of play for the kids to be able to use to climb inside this really interactive and really fun structure, which again covered the top of the tent. And back to some of the other things talked about earlier, it's designed underneath that area to have different seating areas, different sliding, different climbing, but it's really designed to give some of that verticality and some of that activity that when you come to the beach, you're out there to be active, but really to have a play area that encourages kids to climb and to explore and to challenge themselves. But we think it'll give them a fun, great, really good experience, and then bring them up high to be able to see out over the ocean and back towards the beach. And then again, here's some photos that our vendor Compan has shared with us as well, because they've installed these before. So this is very exciting for us as an opportunity to have one of these spheres here in the city of Los Angeles. So these are some images here shown of a previous installation they have that, just to give you an idea of sort of perspective-wise. Here at the bottom, you can see some folks using it or what it looks like on the inside. So a lot of, again, climbing nets and ability for folks to come into the globe. And then finally, just a few more slides I'll go through. This is just going back to both the 5 to 12 and 2 to 5 areas. Just again, we'll also have a little bit of the traditional play climbing structures for the smaller kids to use, or all the kids actually to use. So you see here an image of just a climbing tower we'll try to put on the south side of the project for the kids to use. You've seen these kind of things before in some of our traditional playgrounds. So again, that's the idea. A lot of variety, a lot of different things, but all things that are designed to get the kids to interact with the playground equipment and really to use it over and over and over again. And then finally, this is one kind of just showing some of that same playground equipment in the 2 to 5 areas. So like I mentioned before, beyond the globes and the carousels, we want to have a little bit of the traditional kind of play structures for the kids to also be able to take advantage of as well. And again, more images just showing you some of the traditional things there that they'll have, the panels for kids to play with, the areas for them to crawl through, and the slides for them to come up and down, as long with the things like the curly climbers and other hammocks. So keeping the theme going all through the playground. And then finally, we're just talking with the vendor a little bit about different options for seating. Again, we're talking about the inside of that play area. So this is just some different imagery to show you some of the other things that we're just sharing with you for your input and feedback, of course. But some different items we talked about too with the vendor to sort of highlight the area that we're in. And so again, here's some more of those sort of ground level elements that we're talking about that could potentially be put inside the space. Different spinners, different balancers, different ways for kids to keep interacting even at the ground level besides the climbing equipment that we have. And this is some more examples of those. So you've seen probably many different implementations of these spinning type things, or those are the slides I wanted to go through with you tonight. And I know I can obviously leave the slides up, but answer any questions you may have. But that's really it. Just wanted to walk you through, get some feedback from the group about this design that we're pretty excited about here for Venice Beach.
When were these renderings produced? And that's by Alex Kissin.
So these renderings are actually produced about 2 years ago. So originally, just for context, I think as we talked about with the removal of the playground, we've actually been looking at different options for the Venice Beach playground for a few years. We didn't know that it was approaching the end of its life, but to answer the question directly, we originally worked with Compan on these renderings about 2 years ago. So that's where this slide deck originates from. But
Carol, where have they been?
Pardon me?
Where have they been, these renderings? How have we not, as community members, seen them before a week ago?
Well, again, I guess I just said before, we've been looking at different options for the Venice Beach playground. So just to give a little context for where these.
Carol, I think my next question, gets to what Alex is wondering. When were you involving families living in the area to really understand the needs of local families using this park on a regular basis, not coming for just an Instagram photo, but actually using this park as their local park? Because as you know, in Venice, we are very hard up for family-oriented spaces. When, at what point, and how were families living in this area included in this process?
Sure. So that's what tonight's about, right? So this is why we're here, is to walk kind of you through an idea that we have, a concept for the potential playground out here in Venice. So that's why we're here, to get that kind of feedback and get that kind of information.
And so I don't know if parents here agree with me, but the park as it was great. And I love innovation, and for our kids to be able to that rope thing is really cool. We've all been to the children's museum, and there's that rope thing that you can go up to. Awesome, that sounds great. But this entire rendering misses the mark, and please do not install that. There are so many other great parks in the city that we could take a feather from their cap and utilize. A little splash pad for kids. Genius. Who said that? Yes.
4 to 6 months. It really depends on the final designs that are picked. So not really able to answer at this point. It'll depend on the end of the design, but it does take time to manufacture and deliver. So, but again, I just want to reiterate, we're trying to get your input here. That'll help us dial in the design, and that'll help us later answer that question of how long can it take to install.
I believe their work was initiated about a month ago now, and their goal is to get the most gravely ill people from the boardwalk into recuperative care and longer term care needs, which are the most appropriate for them. And this project will continue until those most vulnerable are addressed. So if you would like to participate in our Oceanfront Walk Task Force that addresses specifically the issue of the in-housed and other quality of life issues, feel free to send me an email and I will add you to those conversations.
How is it possible that these renderings have existed for 2 years and now we're starting the process?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that. And I think as Gabby spoke to a little bit before, we've been interested in trying to replace this playground at Venice Beach for quite some time. And as Gabby brought up the previous thing, we were working with our Los Angeles Parks Foundation to try to find donors to pull together projects there. So to be very direct, we often work with our vendors to prepare renderings of all playgrounds, a lot of them, not just Venice. We do this a lot for our playgrounds across the city. Sometimes it's to see if we can pull a project together, sometimes to see if we can garner interest. So the direct answer to that is we've had the idea of replacing the Venice Beach Playground for a while. Like Gabby noted, we worked with the Parks Foundation, worked with Compan, put together some renderings and some thoughts, and tried to see if we could garner some interest around those. So we do this, just to be direct, a lot with playgrounds, particularly when we are looking for opportunities for donors to help us fund them. We have hundreds of playgrounds across the city. I think someone else had mentioned a lot of needs that we have, so we do this. So that's the direct answer.
Private donors, public donors, we would have put money up. Nobody asked us.
Ideally would like to move forward with replacing the playground. This meeting is to take everyone's feedback and then we will meet internally to determine next steps. I also want to recognize that, there are several thousand residents in Venice, and this is a very small platform. We will also be having future meetings at the site. We also showed the renderings during Halloween, and we got a lot of positive feedback from residents and the kids who were there to provide that feedback. And so it's a listening session. Procedure and the process and how to go about it. And just know that, we always put out, either a task board solicitation, or we put out